Good morning, and once again, welcome to our daily Bible study. We're doing 365 Bible studies, and this is Bible study number 68. We are at the moment looking at ancient sagas from the Old Testament, and particularly at that period between Abraham and the Exodus. We're drawing closer to the Exodus now, and this is the moment when we see Moses encountering God at the burning bush. Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 to 6. Now one day Moses was looking after the sheep and goats that belonged to his father-in-law Jethro, the priest from Midian. He led the flock across the dry wasteland and arrived at the slopes of the holy mountain Sinai. There the word of Yahweh appeared to him, looking like a flame burning out of the middle of a bush. Moses could see that the bush was on fire, but not being destroyed, and he thought how unusual it was. He asked himself why it wasn't being consumed, and went closer to have a look. When Yahweh observed his approach, he called him from within the bush, "Moses, Moses." "Yes, I'm right here," he answered. God said, "That's close enough. Off with your sandals now, because the ground you are standing on is holy. I am the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." At which point Moses covered his eyes because he was terrified of looking at God. When the summer comes, the grass in the lowlands would get scorched. But on the mountain slopes it remained green, and that gave Moses his direction of travel, seeking good pasture for his father-in-law's flock. This particular mountain was called Holy because, if not for Moses yet, then later for the Hebrew people, it will come to be a place where a significant agreement would be made between the Hebrews and their God. This mountain and its range seem to have interchangeable names, Sinai and Horeb. Horeb might have been its Midianite name, and Sinai seems to be similar to a Hebrew word for thorn bush. In your Bible, the words used for the appearance of God in the bush will probably be something like the angel of Yahweh or the angel of the Lord. But it is clear from the story that it is in fact God himself, and angel of Yahweh is just a polite way of saying God. So I've taken the liberty to translate it with the help of a New Testament term, the Word of Yahweh. The Hebrews frequently regarded fire as a sign of God's presence. We have seen it in God's covenant with Abraham in Genesis 15:17. It's also there at the Exodus 13:21, and at the giving of the Ten Commandments, Exodus 19:18, and so on. And in our own times, we light a candle with a living flame to acknowledge God's presence in our devotions. Flames, by their nature, rise upwards and symbolize a link between what is of the earth and what transcends that. We don't take off our shoes to enter church these days, but we do recognize this ancient habit of respect when we enter a tidy friend's home or a mosque. The Old Testament priesthood served barefoot in the meeting tent, and later also in the Jerusalem temple. It's all to do with keeping the holy place free from pollution, of course. And here up on the mountain slopes, Moses is surrounded by the pristine landscape of God's creation. There are signs that this story is a marriage of two old traditions. The writer who called God Yahweh tells us about Moses' need to take his sandals off. The one who calls God Elohim contributed the lines about Moses covering his eyes because he was scared to look at God. Both are outward signs of the awe humans feel at the presence of the one who is, and God's nature is further revealed in leaps and bounds as the saga continues. The story will continue tomorrow, and I'll see you then.